Welcome back. We haven't figured out what we're doing yet. My name is Dana Tripiana.
John.
And Ken.
Okay, so before we start going into everything, does anybody have anything that they want to talk about?
So I guess what I was thinking about is what's been going popular around like TikTok and Instagram is the whole Caucasian or white ethnic groups that live in predominantly black areas not have a black scent or use Ebonics to a certain degree because they're, surrounded by that culture.
So before we even start, can we just agree here that there's nothing racist about saying white people and black people? Not racist, right?
No, not at all.
I don't think so.
No.
It's an identifying
right. Okay. So we're not going to get, no one's going to get offended if we say that. So your question is, or not even a question, just talking about white people that okay, so the example that I brought up was Danielle Bergoli, aka Bad Baby or whatever. And the other girl that she was like kind of going to Bad Bobby. And the other girl that she was kind of like going to war with, Whoa Vicky, right?
Right.
And is that what you're talking about when you say like white people using Ebonics and...
Yeah, the Southern drawl or like slang versus someone that isn't like the white suburban kid that listens to rap music versus like the white Southern person that's predominantly around other black people.
Right. So I do think that there's a difference between let's talk about Eminem. Eminem grew up in Detroit on 8 Mile, and I don't know if it's on or in 8 Mile. I'm not from Detroit. Don't come for me. He grew up predominantly around black people, and
Trailer Park.
He was in a ghetto and
equivalent to like white trash.
Right, exactly. But he was white trash, but the area that he was in seems like it was predominantly black people. So I think that that's why he kind of picked up on the way that he was talking. One thing that Eminem never did, though, is he never, not one time ever, busted out the N-word, which is not something that you can say about, I don't know about Bad Baby. I haven't really followed her that much, but Whoa Vicky definitely busts that out.
I haven't heard, no, I don't think I've heard her use the N-word. As she's referred to herself as like Tarzan.
No, she did not.
Yeah, she referred to herself as
No, she did not say she was in a jungle.
Not, I can't quote her exactly, but I remember it being a thing she got kind of, I wouldn't say canceled. People were kind of on her about just like referring to her because she was trying to explain why she talks the way she does.
So we found a video and I just played it on the screen, but we can't really share a video like while we're watching it. So I'm just going to read this because I found a news article about it and I'm just going to summarize it from the news article. The 17-year-old rapper Bad Baby has recently sustained accusations of blackfishing after posting a video in which her skin appears darker than usual. While trying to defend herself against accusations on Instagram, she compared herself growing up in the hood to the story of Tarzan. Tarzan trended Tuesday in the U.S. as people called Bad Baby out for the comparison, which calls back to racist characterizations of black people. Bad Baby has come under fire for comparing herself to Tarzan as a means for defending herself against accusations of appropriating black culture. The 17-year-old rapper, whose real name is Danielle Bergoli, who was most recently accused of blackfishing over an Instagram post from April 6th, in which her skin appears darker than in previous posts. That day, she trended on Twitter, with many calling out her darker skin tone.
Darker skin tone?
Yeah, I guess
she's like the whitest person ever.
Well, so she does have like curly hair, and I think that she kind of like utilizes that to make it look a little bit like an afro.
Kind of like she went with like a Latina, like a Dominican.
She makes herself, I feel like she makes herself look like someone like with a black dad and a white mom.
Oh, like a
mixed,
mulatto?
But I don't think she is.
No, she's not. She's pretty much 100% Italian.
She addressed the April 6th accusation at the time, writing on her Instagram story, per Complex, "Millions of people sick, thousands dying every day, and y'all worried about me getting my makeup done for a photo shoot? I'm usually the wild one, but y'all need to chill and focus on what's important right now." On Monday, she spoke out about the accusation while live on Instagram, saying the foundation blended fine. Y'all just seen it with the light on it and got dramatic. At another point in the live, however, she attempted to further defend herself against the accusations, saying, Y'all say that I try to be black because maybe a reason of me trying to be black is that I grew up in the hood. Tarzan, right? The story of Tarzan. And that's the end of the sentence in the article. People on Twitter were quick to call her out for the comparison in which she effectively equated her growing up in the hood to Tarzan growing up amongst gorillas, a problematic analogy that harks back to racist characterizations about black people. Bad Baby grew up in Boynton Beach, a city in Florida's Palm Beach County. The clip of her comparing herself to Tarzan went viral, causing Tarzan to trend in the U.S.
Yo, I feel like I need to get on that side of TikTok or something. Because I have no idea that this even happened.
I know,
It was
I
5
had
years
no
ago.
idea either.
Yeah, it was pretty big at the time.
Yeah, it looks like it happened April 14, 2020. So it was a long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't recent.
Yeah, I don't see anything past that. Like, I just see, she said, like, Tarzan, the story of Tarzan, and then it stops. She doesn't go any further than that.
She didn't say the gorilla thing though?
No. She just
wasn't-
she said, you guys are accusing me of acting black. Well, I grew up with black people, like Tarzan, the story of Tarzan, and then that's it. She doesn't continue. She doesn't say anything more on the topic.
Yeah, it was pretty much just that. I mean, there was like some reiterating certain points, but it was pretty much sums up to that. Because I remember watching the live video because her best friend, who's been her best friend, is a black girl, is in the video with her. And even she was just like, what'd you just say? Like, not, you know how you just hear something? Like, why?
That is horrible.
Yeah, I don't think she meant it in the terms of they took it and ran with it because
Took
she's
it out of
celebrity.
context like everything else in this world?
Yeah, they definitely took it more out of context than it needed. Was it a bad example? I would say a poor taste of an example.
I do think that, like, it's easy for us to sit here and dissect it, but I don't think that she wrote it on a script and thought about it. You know,
Nah, not at all.
it's easy for us to say, oh my God, you're saying Tarzan, you're saying black people are gorillas, but I don't think she put that much thought through it. And to be honest, like, let's talk about the intelligence level of Danielle Bregoli. Like, she's not stupid. She's really smart, but not
Social.
not smart enough to put that kind of expectation on her. Like, you know,
Premeditated racism.
exactly. Like, I think that I know what she meant. I know where she was going with it. And
Right.
I get why people are offended by it. I'm sitting here just cringing thinking about it. But I don't think that she was going where
People took it and brought
Right.
it, said it out of context.
Yeah.
But this is also what you get for making somebody famous for saying something stupid,
Cash Me Outside. How about that?
or
Spit
Yeah.
on that thing.
both of
and
those
then,
people.
right, you're not going to get like intelligent human beings from that. She got famous for going on Dr. Phil because she torments her mother. Like, what did we expect from these people? But to go back to the original point that you were talking about, are you asking, like, is it racist, or are we just like discussing the topic?
Well, more so, I guess. I think of it like this. I guess speaking from as a black person who grew up like suburban black, but also family members are hood black, city black. Also, some are southern black, upstate black. All my family has a mix of different variations of the culture, and because of that, I kind of experience all variations of how black people are, and as my own personal experience. So it's just like I find that sometimes because of like if like say I have a friend that's like a white guy, for example, right, and he grew up with me and other black people. I had one like that, and he kind of still spoke kind of like us. There's words he didn't really use, but for the most part, he took on our accents and he took on our personality traits or ebonics, I guess you could say. And it was natural for us. It was not like, hey, you can't say that. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel people that hear it, I wish I could pull up the video exactly of the girl that's kind of going viral now, who has a southern voice. People think she's talking with a black accent, but she just, a white girl with a southern accent as a little bit of...
It's not just a southern accent. It's a very specific southern accent, because you take someone from like Alabama, they don't have like the ebonics or what somebody would be considered like black talk. That's not, it's a very specific part of the South. Like, think like New Orleans, I think.
Yeah. That's yeah.
And is it
like
is
Florida?
Is it well? So okay,
Florida has that kind of
to play devil's
Floridian.
advocate, I know that there was a lot of conversation on TikTok about if that's actually how you spoke because that's the kind of people you grew up with. This is a word, and they would take videos of these people that are talking and find specific words that people from that area pronounced or said a certain way, and they weren't saying it that specific way.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know if it's like them trying
Projecting
to
from their room.
Yeah, it's very easy for someone to critique everything about someone that they see online. It's very easy to see a video of someone and say, "Oh, I'm going to rip apart every single thing about that person." That's easy. You know, I don't know if the black people that white person is interacting with aren't offended by it. I don't know that like internet warriors really should be, but again, I'm not black. I don't get to decide what is and what isn't racist, you know?
I wouldn't say that. Because that holds too much power. That's a what's that? One of the stones in Thanos' gauntlet. I wouldn't say that, because that means you give up the right to know what is and what isn't racist because you're white.
Well, no, because okay, so then you get into the conversation of intent versus impact.
I mean, versus how I feel as a black person.
Like, yeah. So like, I didn't intend for that to be racist, but you interpreted it as racism. And I think that especially right now where tensions are so high, and if anything is interpreted to be racist, that person will get jumped on from every corner of the universe.
I feel what you're saying.
But
I
think
that'll give it your power, though, and observation.
Yeah. And I do think it's important. It's an important conversation to have. But I also feel like if somebody didn't intend to be racist, it's so easy to just turn around to them and say, "Hey, I don't like that." And for that person to say, "Oh, my bad. Like, I didn't know. I didn't interpret it as that." But I think that's the problem, is where people say, "Hey, I didn't like that." And the person doubles down. "This is just how I talk. I don't know what to tell you. You don't like it because of, you know," and it's just, so yeah, I don't think that she intended to be. I think she gears most of her personality towards black people. I think she wants her audience to be black. So I don't think that she was being racist. I don't think that she was trying to alienate anybody by saying that. But I just think she wasn't smart enough to think ahead of time. She wasn't smart enough to think, wow, this could be interpreted really badly if I say it. So
out of context, especially.
And that's just because look how she got famous. Like she got famous for saying something crazy, and then like she was a child. So what was she, like 12, 13 years old?
She was, I believe, 14. I'm not.
And what happens with a lot of famous people when they get famous? They stay at the age of when they get famous. So like, I mean, what was she? She was like, I think she came out and like she was trying to get somebody in trouble for like pedophilia too.
They because they sent her to the
rappers.
wilderness ranch. Dr. Phil sent her to one of those like crazy places where she's living in the woods.
Oh, see, I had
like
no idea about that.
Daniel Bergoldi got sent. Like you know how Paris Hilton is like an advocate against those places. Daniel Bergoldi got sent to that because she went on Dr. Phil.
Damn.
So that definitely has an impact too. I mean, who knows who that girl is now? Like that's some traumatic shit, honestly. Like those wilderness ranches, I've been through some trauma in my life, but I've never been through anything like that. I cannot imagine how you come out on the other end of that. I don't know. So that definitely makes a difference, I think, when you look at the way that a person talks and the intention behind what they're saying and what they've been through. I do think. But one thing that you said that interested me and made me think was what were you saying about code switching?
Oh, yeah. So for a black person, right, we code switch, right? So like right now, I'm probably not using 40% of my normal dialogue because I'm already code switching into talking a certain way.
Right.
And because of that, am I talking white or am I talking with a black accent?
Right.
Right. So which most people would call, I wouldn't even say proper English. It could be a use less.
It's just a different accent.
It's reading the room.
No, I do think it's well, and that's the thing. We
Well, I
started
guess you talk
talking
about like loud black people. Yeah, some people. They're also loud white people.
we started
AKA
talking about
Italians,
like
but, you know what I'm saying? I love Italians. They know me out here. They know me.
So one thing, I mean, I think that the reason that piqued my interest when you said that is because the direction I feel like you're going with that is kind of like if it's okay
For other people to do it.
for other right. So like if is it racist for a black person to code switch? And I kind of was like, I don't know that black people can be racist against black people.
Yeah, they can. There's so like say for example, if a black guy, there could be a black guy that's really into white girls and very have derogatory behavior against black women versus the opposite where there could be black girls that have derogatory behavior against black men and they'll like almost hate shame them in any facet as if they're not black and love white men. Like it'll lean into that dynamic.
But I mean sort of like in the way of
Yeah, you can self-hate.
saying things like yeah, if you're a black person saying bad things about other black people, obviously that's
like calling other black people like,
isn't that like a big topic of debate lately? Like what is racism? Like white people can't be racist against black people because in order to be racist, you have to have a position of power. So if you follow that, can black people be racist against other black people?
Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, 100%. It doesn't. I don't think it also has to be. It doesn't always have to be a position of power. It can just be your thought process and the way you think.
Okay.
Like there could be there's black people that use when a baby comes when it's born, like, oh, your baby got good hair versus like what's good hair? You mean hair that type that in relation similar to Caucasian people?
Right.
Or is it, the fineness of it? You know what I mean? Like there's little sayings that slip into the cracks of like black culture.
Microaggressions.
Yeah. Or skin complexion is a huge thing in the black community.
Light skin versus dark skin.
Yeah, 100%. Someone that's mulatto toned. In that way,
Drake caught a lot of bullets from that, right? Because he was light skinned.
Yeah, but he got like many bullets because it was kind of like not only has he's light skinned, but he's also Canadian and also he's Jewish. So he got everything that you could possibly think about. In terms of
he was catching him before Kendrick.
Yeah, 100%. So it's like, but yeah, on that same topic, it's like, yeah, black people definitely can be. I've definitely experienced racism from other black people. Almost more than I think more black people that I can name probably experience racism from other black people more than white people.
See, that's so crazy to me because like when I think of the word racism, I think white people being racist against black people, against Spanish people. It's just
think
that's
hate,
that's
though.
what right, yeah, exactly.
Like extreme hate. Like I think you're less than nothing.
Right.
Like you're not
even a person.
You're not equal to me.
Right.
Whereas I think some people come into the stereotype of it's like you have a stereotype which turns into a it's not systematic racism, but it's almost like it's the other word for prejudice.
Okay.
I think more people are prejudiced because they have like you go into the Chinese spot and you're like, all right, I'm gonna get. You almost feel ashamed. Can I get the chicken with the rice? It's like, you already know I'm finna order the chicken wings with the fried rice. Like, don't even ask me anything else on the menu. You got 30 of those things. I ain't ordering it, But it's like that becomes in their head, oh no, the black man want the chicken, the fried rice. Like that, she's being more so prejudiced in a way. Okay. Whereas like you go to a nail salon and you like, I wonder if this Chinese or Vietnamese lady talking about me. You being sort of kind of because you're assuming because she's speaking a different language that she has to be talking about you.
Right.
And I think more people. I mean,
it does happen a lot.
Yeah.
To be fair, there's people that take in those like those headphones that translate and they put them on and they're just ripping the person apart.
Oh, 100%. But I mean,
I don't know that that's
any job you go to customer service wise, you're going to talk about your customers. That come with the service.
Right, but it's not normally in another language right in front of someone's face. I think that's where 100%. The problem comes in. Where you're not even mad at it, being nice to me, you're looking at me, you're having a normal conversation, and right in front of my face, you're playing in my face in a different language. That is just offensive.
That's true, but I can't be offended if I don't understand. So I'm not mad. I almost give him a high five.
Disagree.
I give
Disagree.
Because at least
I could definitely be
because
offended.
you want the confrontation. You want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to know.
I am
the
confrontational.
Yeah, you want to know. You want to catch a little fade after the job.
Yeah, because why I'm paying you for something. Why are you smack talking me?
Let me ask you this. Say you go to, if they talk about it after work or during in a different language, it's not going to matter to you.
Right. Yeah, probably not. I don't
You know
care.
what I mean?
Yeah.
No different than you
that's
like,
the
yo,
thing.
the guy
That's
at the
the point.
grocery store. Oh my God, you can't believe him.
I don't know though, because like if I had a friend that let's say I went to Sears and I had a friend working at the cash register and I went to a different register and then later on my friend came to me and was like, oh, that cashier was talking smack about you after you left. Am I offended? Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm still upset about it. Oh, they were talking about how ugly your pants were. You know, like, I'm still going to be upset about it. Just because it didn't happen when I was there doesn't mean I'm not upset about it.
I got you. Second question, just to play devil's advocate. Do you speak another language?
I don't. I've tried so hard
So
to learn Italian.
So let me tell you, if you knew Italian, do you know how, and you had a couple Italian friends, you know how fun it would be just to...
Oh, yeah, for
exactly.
sure. For sure. I
Trying
would
to get a couple off.
But that doesn't mean that if the person that I was talking about could understand it,
of course
that
not.
They wouldn't be offended. Like,
that's the whole part of it that makes it like, you would only do it if no one understood you.
Right.
It's no different than
that's
inside jokes.
How do you know? How do you know who understands it?
You're
what
right.
if I know Vietnamese and I walk into one of those places and they're just ripping me apart? And I'm sitting there knowing every single word they're saying.
You know what's funny? They would actually be more cool with you because they was like, oh, she knows me. Oh, okay. And then they gonna talk with you. They gonna be saying, they gonna add you in.
But what if I hide it?
If you hide it?
What if I hide it and I go in there acting like I don't know anything and then they're just ripping me apart, but I'm listening and hearing every word they're saying?
Zero tip.
What?
Zero tip?
Yeah, I'm saying zero.
Yeah, for sure.
Plus, you
but
can
it's
give
like,
zero tip.
Do you have the right to be offended at that? I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's
a prejudice, but
I would say it's prejudice, but I'm like, everyone has their prejudice. Like, you can't escape it. Racism, you can escape, but it's very hard to escape having a prejudgment, especially if you experience, like if you're, I know, you have this thing with like police, but like police, I don't want to make it sound like a terrible example because police can't have prejudice. They can't be prejudiced because in the line of work they're in, it would just make the job worse because you would just super assume everything. No, he's got to have that because like
right, and that's the problem that we have with police is that they're going out with prejudice. Well, I'm in a hood, so this person definitely has a weapon in their waistline, and then people are getting killed out here.
Yeah,
like that's the problem.
The situation escalates instead of de-escalating.
Right.
Which all it usually takes is like a tone shift, right? It could be tone of voice, it could be approach, it could be the way you go about it. And I think others do it better than...
It's the approach.
Yeah, I definitely think.
The famous saying I learned in the Army, it's the approach.
Yeah, you could say something real deadly, real quiet versus saying it loud. A threat could be whispered.
And it's just as scary. I think I would get more scared at a threat that wasn't shouted at me.
Oh,
I'd
100%.
be like, oh, I'm taking that a lot more serious.
Yeah, it's like getting a threat for your parent. You hear your parents under their breath.
That's when it gets scary.
It's like a supersonic hearing.
Prime example of saying, I'm going to knock you out if you don't get the hell out of here, dog.
Yeah, exactly. I was talking before about like, because we hang out for a while trying to get everything set up before we do this podcast. And a lot of times I'm like, I am going to beat the crap out of you to my dog. And I'm sitting here and I say it at least 6 times every time you're here. But I've never laid a hand on my dog. It's just a threat, And I think that I do that a lot. Like, that's like my number one threat. I do it to everyone. Like, I do it to my husband. If you don't stop, I'm going to backhand you. Have I ever actually backhanded him or have I ever actually laid a hand on him? No. But will I threaten him? Will I threaten my dog? Yeah, I will. But I'm going to do that to their face and they're going to know that I'm doing it, okay? I'm not going to like, I'm going to beat up my husband if he doesn't stop doing that.
Right.
Shh, don't tell him. That's where I get offended.
Well, Hulk wouldn't hear you. But, I mean, Zeus might. Zeus might.
I'll put pictures of my dogs on this video, but I have 2 dogs. I have a black pit bull and a blue nose pit bull. And the blue nose is the sweetest thing in the world, but he's deaf. And it's hard to shit talk him because he's deaf. You can't really do anything. So you got to follow him around and tap him around. And,
Right.
But is he really deaf?
Yeah,
As he nods in agreement, I am deaf. 100%.
Yeah,
100%
totally.
deaf.
Believe that I'm deaf, please.
Right.
I don't know. He's like weaponized deaf. He acts like he's deaf. I don't think he's deaf, but he pretends that he doesn't hear you. But I got to treat him like he's deaf because what if he is deaf and I'm just pretending that he's not, and then I'm like a horrible, it's a whole mess. All right. So that was a great conversation. Let's go ahead and get into some of these stories because these stories are actually going to be awesome. Before I start, I do want to let you guys know I'm doing it a little bit different this week. So first of all, I did stick to a theme. You guys will be super proud to hear that.
Okay.
Last week, it was just kind of like all over the place and whatever I found interesting. This week, I did stick to a theme. This week, we're going to be talking about religion and the thoughts of religion, spirituality, and how things fit. And another thing that we're going to be doing different this week is instead of just going through Reddit stories, I figured we could watch some videos and then we could talk about them. If it's a YouTube video, because this podcast is going to mainly be on YouTube and we don't want to get any strikes. So if it's a YouTube video, we'll watch it, we'll explain it, I'll tag it, but we won't put the actual video. But if it's a TikTok video, we will put it in because TikTok doesn't get censored or copyrighted or whatever. But we're going to watch these videos and we're going to treat it like a Reddit post. We're just going to talk about it the same way we would if I read off a Reddit post. So to start off, let's go ahead and watch a video and then we're going to talk about it as soon as the video plays on screen.
This is part 2 of my series on how different kinds of societies create different kinds of gods. You guys were super interested on this, especially on what your God kind of says about you. So I'm going to do a whole series on this and I'll make it its own playlist. So here are the key questions that you need to ask when you're determining what kind of God a society will create. First is, how agricultural is that society? If you have stable agricultural societies, these cultures are going to emphasize harmony and cosmic order. So think ancient Egypt and China. And these gods are charged with maintaining kind of a cosmic order, but they don't care too much about micromanaging human behavior. Really harsh, unpredictable environments like droughts, earthquakes, famine, think ancient Mesopotamia, tend to create interventionist punitive gods who demand rituals for protection. These kinds of gods, Yahweh, Allah, they're lawgivers, they're enforcers, sometimes they're even wrathful because you're going to need a lot more in order to keep social order in that kind of a chaotic environment. And you're also going to need a lot more rituals to feel safe because your world is more chaotic in general. Another question is, are resources abundant or scarce? If it's scarce, you're going to have stricter religious laws in order to keep social order. If it's abundant, you can get more abstract philosophical systems. And you can even see this within one religion. So for Islam, for example, if trade is going really well and there's wealth and there's not a lot of threat, then you get a golden age of Islam. You get philosophy, you get science, you get really abstract forms of Islam, a lot of which are really beautiful. But as soon as you get resource scarcity or it's challenged in some way, it'll revert to a much more strict, authoritarian, fundamentalist form of that religion. The next question is, how hierarchical is the society? So if you have a strong hierarchical structure, you'll often see that kind of reflected in the heavens with a really strong God and kind of a pantheon of gods underneath him. Egalitarian societies don't tend to have hierarchies. They either have some form of pantheon of gods where all the gods have different gifts in the same way that that community, everybody has a gift they contribute to the tribe, or you get some kind of like shamanism or animism. Next question is, how does society enforce morality? If you are a small community or if your social norms are strong enough that there's enough kind of strong laws and leadership, then the gods really aren't involved in moral policing. If social norm enforcement is weak, then you're going to have a god take on that moralizing role. Next question is, does the ruling class use religion to justify their power? If so, you're going to expect kind of divine kingship, pharaohs, emperors as gods, the Vatican, Islamic caliphates, things like that. Here's an interesting one, and this one is fascinating, which is how much inequality is there in the society? If you have high inequality and high suffering, you have to develop a heaven-hell reincarnation, some kind of narrative in order for things to be more fair in the next life, in order to essentially deal with how unfair it is in this life. If you have a society that's more equal, where there's less injustice, then you're going to get a weaker and more ambiguous kind of form of afterlife. And a lot of times the afterlife is more or less like this life. So if you want to see how much a society is suffering, see what their views of heaven and hell are. The worse a society is doing, the better they have to make their heaven. Next question is, how much does this society interact with others? Isolated societies have more unique gods. If you're in a lot of trade, you're going to start mixing and absorbing with different kinds of gods, like when the Hellenistic gods started blending with Egyptian deities. Is the society the conqueror or the conquered? Conquered societies will often fuse their gods and their religion with the society that conquered them. And next, does the society emphasize expansion or preservation? If the society needs to expand, then you're going to get proselytizing kinds of religions. If the society wants to be preserved, then you'll get a focus on kind of ancestral worship and lineage. Stay tuned for part 3. I'm going to go through Christianity and how you can track the changes in God and doctrine on what was needed in the society at the time.
All right, so that video actually is one part of, she does like a 15-part series, but that's the one that I watched. And honestly, I think I've brought it up to you multiple times, just having a conversation about people and their religion and everything. So the whole point of that video is, the idea behind religion is that, you know, this God, or let's talk about Christianity. The idea is Jesus walked the earth and there was a Bible written for him. Every single religion has some kind of God or some reason that this Bible and this religion, or everybody has their own name for the book, but a book was written, and that's where the religion comes from. The point of what that she's making in this video, and it's super interesting to think about, is that religion is usually created based on where you live. The society, the weather, like everything goes into religion. And if that's true, what does that say about religion? Does that mean that religion is a real thing? Does that mean that it was written the way that it actually happened? Like, what, do you guys have any thoughts right away?
Yeah, I could. I mean, listening to it, it is somewhat oversimplified way of putting it for every single religion, because obviously things that were firsthand experience when that religion was first known as, or then translated into, depending on where that culture came from and where on the planet that culture migrated towards, especially when it comes to Christianity from Hebrew to Greek, and then what the Jews went through, more realistic historic events. So there are things that historically we know through other religions are accurate to some degree that can be proven scientifically.
Yeah, like we know that Jesus was a human being. Like that's not an idea, that's not a myth. Jesus was a real person.
Right. Our timeline is based upon AD, after the death of Christ, BCE, before the common era.
I don't think AD stands for after death. That always confused me, because it never made sense to me where if you have before Christ and after death, what is that 30? I think he lived to 33. What is that time period called? And
that would be the Bible.
I don't think that AD stands for after death.
In Christianity, it does.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh,
yeah, it's before Christ, after death. Mm-hmm. So real quick, so this is her like pretty much explaining each religion, like what it was back then, or is it?
I think it's her explaining how religions are developed.
Okay.
Cause and effect.
Okay.
She's saying, you know, if a god, if you have a region that has a lot of rain and a lot of floods, you have to have a god that does this, and like the way that the religion is set up based on the society, based on the weather, based on the things that the people at the time dealt with.
So, I mean, I'll start off by saying I'm not that religious. Like I celebrate Christmas, so I'm pretty sure I'm like more on the Catholic end of it. But like, so, I don't really know that much.
I'm Catholic, by the way.
I know that. But like in my experience, pretty much the way I look at religion as a whole is that every culture believes in something that kind of controls what happened back way like ancient
Creation
Egypt.
or
Yeah, exactly.
some creationist theory.
So, and then as years go by and like you have before Christ, after death, it becomes like the Bible is pretty much basically people telling stories. Or like I said, I don't know much about like the Quran or whatever else there might be out
Quran
there.
is more so
That's like Islam, right?
Right. Yeah.
So pretty much it's like a story that like, because people now obviously didn't live back then, and you have people that say that they, you know, can speak to God or speak to whoever is the higher power. So it's those books have been translated millions of times, I'm sure, and it's just basically a storytelling. So she's pretty much saying that this is how it was back then. It's not like her recreating.
She's saying that this is how each religion was developed. Instead of it being, oh, well, Jesus walked the earth and that's why the Bible was written. It's, well, people in that area experienced XYZ, and because they experienced XYZ, the religion was created around that instead of the way that they perpetuate it, which is this is just stories that we need to tell to form a religion.
I would say that's pretty accurate for some religions because, like you said, like Native Americans, they have gods of like the land, and Mother Nature is big in their culture because the agriculture is like very big, as she was kind of pinpointing. But I would say it's hard with comparing it using Christianity because Christianity in the book speaks about false gods and other gods of other nations and so how those other nations.
Christianity versus Catholicism, because Christians are Catholics, but Catholics aren't Christians. So that's a big difference. Like you watch Young Sheldon, and she's a born again Christian, and the kid was like, "Oh, I'm Catholic," and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry for you." But all Christians are Catholic.
Well, yeah, it's a different sect of Christianity, right. But in the definition of Christianity is following in Christ's footsteps. So it just depends on your interpretation of those Genesis to Revelation and understanding what Genesis to Revelation is.
Yeah, I think
in connection to the history.
I don't really know because I'm not religious. I've gone to church maybe 4 times in my life.
You can go.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I guess I'm a bit more because I've read the Bible many of times.
Okay.
And
so you would definitely know better than me.
Yeah, I've studied other religions. So I would say based on history, it's more of you do this, you shouldn't do that, you should do this, you shouldn't do that.
Okay.
Whereas it's not a lineage like the Bible is.
Do you know what the difference between Catholics and Christians is? Because I just know that Catholicism branches off of Christianity branches off Catholicism.
So the seeds of it is Christianity. The Christianity tree goes into like Baptists, Catholics. It's just because you have the Roman Catholics, like there's different variations of Jewish. Right. You can be Jewish by blood and
Hasidic,
right, exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's some Jews that believe
Ashkenazi.
Most Jews believe in the Hebrew scriptures, and they cut off up into the Christian Greek scriptures. So that's when Christianity came about, because that's when Jesus' story comes about.
Okay.
So it just depends on what at part do you cut off, because even people in Christianity, they don't all read the same
book.
They all do. It depends on if you go from the King James version. I was going to say,
because there's like Genesis, there's all kinds of different books. So I don't think that all of them are based on the same book.
No, they are. No, it just depends on, you have like the complete Bible, right? And then there's throughout the years of when the Great Crusade, up into the Great Crusade, where you have right around when I want to say the King James version, where you have certain doctrines. That's where you have, similar to other religions, where they have a thought process that might split and divide a group, and they might believe in this God and other, like kind of what she was talking about with the Egyptian gods, where it starts to, they have hellish gods on this side and other ones don't believe in those hellish gods. Okay. It's similar.
Yeah, I feel like Jewish people don't believe in hell. That's just something I heard on Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, I mean, no, because it's not a part of they only go up to the Hebrew scriptures. But also hell is another, depending on what side of Christianity you're on, is another doctrine, because there is no, how can I say, the translations of certain words in the book of Revelations For example, there's a word that Jesus has used when giving a example of Gehenna, which is Gehenna, where he describes in King James Version, it sounds like he's describing hell. But in reality, Gehenna was an example he used because it was a trash. They would burn their trash in
So like,
the Greek
like
part.
smoke pits,
They would burn like a furnace.
Mhm.
All that got, and he was using
like
that
the way
as,
they do in Iraq with the soldiers.
right. He was using that as an example. I forget which scripture it is from Revelations, but he was using that as an example. But certain Christian sects has used that as a doctrine to, I guess it depends on
Interpret
if
it
you
as a hell.
interpret it as a hell.
Right. I always find that so interesting, what's actually written versus the interpretation of it. Because okay, so let's talk, for instance, about the phrase of don't take the Lord's name in vain. And a lot of people will say, oh my God, is taking the Lord's name in vain. But I've also read that the way that it was intended was don't do something bad and then say you're doing it for God.
You could say that. You could say that. I mean, you would have to kind of like what she did was how far can you take back the phrase and then to see who originally said it, right?
Well, and another thing is homosexuality. A lot of people that believe in Catholicism or Christianity, they say that homosexuality is a sin and you're going to burn in hell if you do that. But there's other people that interpret what was actually written as stepping outside of your marriage, and there was never anything about homosexuality in the Bible. So do you have any thoughts on that?
There is parts of particularly when it talks about the end of the system and things, it does speak about homosexuality, and it covers things that were to be more prevalent, meaning that there would be more wars, meaning that there would be the amount of natural disasters would be occurring, that there would be men that were lovers of men, and that was in turn, depending on your interpretation, can be clear throughout the Bible. It kind of has that, and Sodom and Gomorrah essentially was that going on, which was homosexuality.
Okay. So it is in because as I said, I'm not religious. I've never read the Bible. So like the only thing that I know is when I see videos of people talking about, well, this is what's actually written versus this is how it's interpreted. And this is what actually was meant when it was written. So that's interesting. There is multiple, because there's videos out there that say like the Bible never mentioned homosexuality. They never called it a sin. And when the Bible was written, this is what it actually meant. It actually meant killing your fellow man or stepping out from your marriage or something like that. And there was never a mention in the Bible of homosexuality being bad. So you're saying that it was mentioned multiple times and it was listed as a sin.
Lovers of men. Men that would be lovers of men was not used in a favorable term, that it would be something. So
they are legitimate. The people that are heavy duty religious, they are legitimate in believing that homosexuality is a sin per their religion.
If you take, I'll say it like this. If you take it from the strain of, say someone is that, we'll say someone that's homosexual, right? And they have a struggle of believing in God for whatever reason, right? They would still have to choose a religion that favors their thought process, because their version of their reality is cemented by their sexuality, because that's a lot of their personal, that's a lot of who they are it's cemented into them. So you could have a firm belief in a lot of the scriptures and they could really impact you in a way that might enlighten you, but then getting to the part where the part that you feel is wholeheartedly you is somewhat denied in a way and devalues your experience, it would be hard to accept. It would be like I could do everything right, but I could never be that.
And that's, I think, one of the things that has made, I explored religion. Like, I'm not someone that just from birth was like, no, religion. I definitely looked into it. But a lot of the things that I had shaky ground and kind of kept me away from ever actually believing in a religion was, number one, if I were to be religious, it would be Catholic. And that religion believes that probably 3/4 of the planet is going to hell. And that just drives me crazy. So you're telling me that Gandhi, the one of the greatest people on earth ever is going to hell because he doesn't believe in the Catholic God. Because Christians or Catholics, they believe that anybody that doesn't believe in Jesus Christ is going to hell. So you're telling me that it could be the best person in the world, but they're a different religion, and now that person's going to hell because they don't believe what you believe.
Yeah, well, they believe in that doctrine from the scriptures.
Like everybody that believes in Islam, everybody that believes in Buddhism or any other religion but Catholicism or Christianity, they're all going to hell. 3/4 of the planet is going to hell because they don't believe the same thing that you believe. And that's what always drove me crazy about religion. Like, I cannot believe that the entire world other than you is incorrect. I can't.
That's kind of like the coin of the conversation, right? Like the 50-50 is what's wrong and what's right. Whereas somebody that if you want to be right, someone has to be wrong.
Right.
And if
not necessarily though, because there's religions out there that say this is the religion, this is the truth. And if you don't believe that, it's whatever. You know, like not every religion condemns every single person that doesn't believe that religion. Islam doesn't say anybody that doesn't believe in Islam. I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm not religious. I've never read up on this stuff. But I don't believe that the Quran says anybody that doesn't believe in their God is going to hell. Like that boggles my mind. That's such a huge concept to think about.
I think, no, you're right. But at the same time, regardless if you believe it or not, you have to say that if there is a God or gods, right, similar to the Christian God in the Bible, which speaks on it numerous times, that you have the famous quote that's taken from the Bible that you can't have more than 2 masters. And that same thought, which happens to the Israelites in the Bible quite a few times, is that they were jealous of the neighboring nations,
which is crazy to me because I'm assuming Israelites that they're talking shit about Jews, right?
No, the Israelites were the Jews.
Right.
Yeah.
So now the Bible is talking shit about the region which their God came from because Jesus is God to them. And Jesus is Jewish.
Well, so without getting extremely complicated into, because we would have to start quoting scriptures at that point to get into exactly every part of where you were going with that. So instead of making it'll be a little bit more complicated. I could explain it, but I would have to open a Bible and actually go to every single scripture. But I'll put it simple like this. You have the lineage up until, let's say, Genesis, which more people are familiar with, is Adam and Eve, and Cain and Abel, the offspring of Adam and Eve, and everything up into the direction of after Abel dies, Cain killing, and then the continued growth of the human race up into the depiction of what the Bible's, referring to, of how we became many, which then became the result of the chapter Numbers, which shows you from all the way from Adam all the way up into Jesus. And that gives you like a fine lineage of everyone that would come before him, right? It kind of depicts that. In that same breath, the Israelites are deprived from that same line. They were the Jewish people that got released from Egypt through God's favor. You have the splitting of the Red Sea, all of that. That's all in progression of that.
Okay. That's
where you get the Jewish people. And then they go into which most people are familiar with, is the Promised Land. Then you get
that's first Israel, right?
Yeah, before they become,
or Gaza or something.
Right, before they become Israel, there was someone named Israel who then had sons, and those 12 sons became the 12 tribes of Israel, which were his sons. And that's why each of those sons were named after each of those tribes, and so on and so forth. And each of those tribes had a dedicated, like the Levites were the spiritual people of the tribe. Those are the ones that you went to do all your animal sacrifices that you needed to get done, because at that point there was no Jesus to forgive you for your sins.
Well, and that's another thing that drives me crazy about religion, is that they just refuse to believe fact. Like, there's a saying, you can't fight crazy, because crazy's never going to listen to you, right? The belief that the dinosaurs aren't real boggles my brain. Like, dinosaurs never happened. That was the devil planting bones to make you question whether the Bible was real.
Which is, it's funny because
boggles me.
That's it depends on what sect of Christianity you believe in. This is irrefutable to say that the dinosaurs didn't exist, because we have bone proof.
Right.
There's plenty depiction of from Genesis that dinosaurs existed, but it depends on once you get into the doctrines of,
because you talk about like Adam and Eve, the dinosaurs were around before humans, but if you talk about Catholicism or Christianity, the planet was created for people.
well, the animals were on the planet before Adam and Eve.
See, that's not what Catholicism believes. They believe that
Adam and Eve, it
God,
is.
there's nothing like the. Am I crazy?
Yeah,
Wasn't
that's
there,
why
like, the
I
7
always
days
find
on
it-
day 1 he created light, on day 2 blah blah blah, and like day 4 he created humans.
Because it's almost like, I call it more so an atheist refute. Some atheists, depending on what level of atheism, because it's level of atheism too, because there's belief of a greater power, but not knowing what that is and not being able to access it, knowing that there has to be something, but I don't believe anyone else is aware or even close to what that is. So all of you are wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So if all of you are wrong, I'm not going to join all of you that are wrong.
That's kind of
So
where I'm at. I feel like that's more. I feel like I'm more agnostic. Where I'm like, I do feel like there's something, but I don't feel like
You haven't
any
have
of
a
you can be right,
definitive-
because you can't believe that everybody that's a good person is going to be punished because they don't agree with you.
A definitive.
Anyone that believes that, I can't get on board with.
Yeah.
Because like you can't look at somebody that lived a good life, was good to people, did everything right, but you're going to burn in hell because you don't believe the same thing I believe in. I can't get on board with any religion that thinks that or feels that.
I tried explaining that same concept to a friend. That was a girl that, she was believed in, she was more of the Catholic side. And I was trying to explain to her how it didn't make sense, because I explained it in a simple way. I was like, all right, so imagine you're a God, right? You have an angel that disobeys you. You cast him out, Satan.
That's Lucifer, right?
Right.
Okay.
He's casted out on earth for disobeying, also being part of one of the greatest sins, which is turning the first man and woman creation into sin, unperfect.
Right, which wasn't the big thing that he allowed them to think is something along those lines?
No,
Like he gave them the power of choice, and that wasn't supposed to be
Free
there?
will?
No, they
Something
already
like
have
free
free
will.
will. You
Okay.
already have free will, because you can't worship without free will. It's no point. You can't call it worship if you are obligated to do it.
Right.
You're a dog at that point. You're obligated. You have to obey.
Yeah.
It's not it wouldn't even make sense. You can't even call it worship because you do it out of
Right.
you choose to.
You have to.
Yeah, you choose to. But on the lines that I was saying is, I was telling her that like you have God and you have a Satan, and then God tells Satan, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna send you a whole bunch of people I want you to torture." How does that make sense? Would you let?
Right, they're working together.
Why would that? Why would they be working together?
Right, I agree.
That doesn't make any sense.
I agree.
I do know that there's a theory that like God and Satan, they are actually brothers.
That's
And
that's also a Baptist version of it. They believe, Baptists believe that, but it wouldn't make any sense because it would erase. If we're going based on the Bible, it would erase his whole identity as the archangel. He wouldn't be an angel.
And that's why like I
You
know
were
there's
created.
a theory of it, but like, and that's where again you start breaking off into different types of religion and what like.
And
Because
everybody that doesn't believe in the type of religion that you believe into is wrong and gonna burn in hell for eternity. And it makes me nuts.
But on your point, it makes sense if you put it in the context of what it is. Because why would I punish you knowing I'm going to destroy you? From Genesis to Revelation, Revelation ends with me destroying you, taking all, just like he did with in the Bible, if he did with the seraphim, the other angels that disobeyed with Satan, who then had inhabited men's bodies and had sex with women to make Nephilim, which were also depicted in the
YA dystopia right there.
Hmm?
YA dystopia right there. I've read so many books about like fallen angels and half demon, half
that's
humans.
the Roman
Love it.
and all of where you get the different Greek
the Greek mythology and Greek gods, because that's
Mythology.
where you get the, I don't know the name of him. He's pretty popular. It's the one where he's like half human, half horse.
the other one, the one that's super popular, the one that's the Disney one.
Not Xerxes.
Hercules.
No,
Hercules.
So Hercules is in
Hercules
half.
is Greece.
Yeah, but it's not half.
He's like, yeah, he's half human, half
Half
God.
God.
He's a Nephilim.
No, I'm half human, half horse.
Oh, I don't know
it's like
who that is.
the animalistic side of it. I mean, it depends, right? Because once you get a Nephilim, that's what makes the scripture so interesting. Because once you then learn that, then you get the scientific fact of things that that happen. And why would they believe something so distinctive of these men of fame and great feats? Because how unexplainable would it? They would have to have exist for you to even think of like a man being that strong, the ability to do those certain things.
That's what I feel about dragons. Like why every single piece of writing
That's what
from
God
that
depicted.
time has dragons.
They
But
depict-
we're supposed to believe that dragons aren't real. Why is it in everything? Why is the Chinese calendar have all real animals and then a dragon? Like it just that kind of stuff makes me nuts.
In the Bible, that's what Satan is depicted as.
A dragon.
Mhm.
So that's why okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So
when he got first casted out,
you could talk, I mean, taking that way of thinking, that's probably why modern society doesn't believe in dragons, even though I'm 99% sure that dragons existed. But I could see
dinosaurs. So there's some level of obviously we can add to the no different.
I could see why the church though would convince, because like realistically speaking, a lot of society today is written the way that you believe it because of the Pope. Because he
in Catholic, 100%.
made not even Catholic, just the world. So far as, let's say, dragons. The Pope turns around and says, no, dragons weren't real. And you get X amount of generations outside of humans that actually experience dragons. And now, it's a mythological creature.
Yeah, they call him the Great Serpent,
Because
which was a great serpent. It's a dragon.
because the Pope or the church or whatever doesn't want you to believe that it's real because that was Satan. That's interesting. I never knew that Satan was a dragon. That makes so much more sense of why society says it's not real.
It's the verbiage. A great serpent is a dragon.
Right. Could be a snake.
Now there's added fantasy to it, right? Because now you can, the human brain and fantasy, and you can then make theory and create. So I can add to it.
I feel like this is a J.K. Rowling book.
You can add to it. You can make more of what the creature is able to do and visualize more of what the creature might look like.
Hey guys, we're back. So sorry about that. We had an interruption. It was pretty crazy. We had my dog crashed in, and I thought for a second it was a skinwalker, so I got scared. I do want to continue the conversation, and I kind of told you to stop because I wanted to talk about it more, but I wanted it to be like with our headphones on and everything. So we somehow got from religion, we got to the Freemasons and those kind of like cults. I don't know.
That would be somewhat of a cult because it's secretive enough to be a cult because you can't be a part of it without being a part of it.
What do you think they would call themselves? A fraternity?
That's a good question.
Following.
I guess it would technically be a religion.
So let's talk about them. So you said that the Freemasons have a different belief because up until I remember when
they have somewhat of a Christian belief, somewhat.
Like I remember a time where society kind of acted like Freemasons didn't exist.
Before National Treasure?
Do you think that's what it was?
That's actually a good.
Because like it's the same thing as like the mafia, you know, when it first started, everyone, there's no such thing as a mafia. And then all of a sudden something happened that made the world accept that the mafia did exist. When I was a kid, people believed that the Freemasons was a myth. Like they didn't believe it actually existed. Like the Illuminati. Like you if me and you have a conversation right now about the Illuminati, it would have to be like our thoughts on it because there's no thing that like even verifies that an Illuminati exists. So nowadays, I remember times where Freemasons were not a thing.
If you think about it, around the same time that the movie National Treasure came out with Nicolas Cage, Transformers also with Witwicky and the glasses. That was his grandfather was a Freemason.
Right.
So
greater knowledge.
So it's the way like they're putting like UFOs and aliens a lot into movies to like desensitize us to it. So you're saying that they put the Freemasons into movies so that when they verified that the Freemasons are actually a thing, we wouldn't freak out.
Yeah, we're not just like, holy crap, like, because they start, like, as a society, like, they always do the same kind of thing where it's like, all right, so for a long time we saw alien movies, we saw all this, and now we're just like, oh, they came out, what was it? Trump said it in like 2020 where he confirmed, like, as soon as he took presidency, he confirmed
right.
Space
And
Force.
when he first became president this time, there was like a whole set of FBI like court hearings.
Oh, the UFOs.
The UN like confirmed that UFOs and aliens and everything are real. And I do and I think that, like, you know, they have these movies about ET and all these aliens to kind of make it where if there is alien contact, people won't freak out about it. But then you have Project Bluebeam. We're gonna do
the Blue Beam.
We're gonna do an entire episode about that kind of stuff.
Blue Beam is a that's beyond even Freemason. That goes into
That's
really Illuminati.
But
let's rewind because I want to talk about the Freemasons.
Like,
so you said that the Freemasons have their own belief system. Tell me a little bit about that.
So that's the thing. That's the thing with the Freemasons is that there isn't a deny or confirm around. All we know for somewhat, because they're not going to just tell you. You can't really it's almost like the thing that Tom Cruise believes in, the Scientology. It's kind of like you don't really know exactly what they practice because
it's a myth and it's a secret society. I got that.
They don't even like once you're in.
But nowadays it's a confirmed thing. Like the Freemasons exist and we know that.
I many older people that had the jewelry, that was kind of like the identifying you. If you act like, yo, what's that? Like, oh, I'm a Freemason. And that was the end and beginning of the conversation.
Well, most of the time they wouldn't like confirm or deny it, just because if they let you see the markings, it's because they were in the middle of trying to recruit. So that's where going back to, it's kind of like a cult thing.
I heard there was a Reddit story about a girl and her husband was a Freemason and he like was putting tens of thousands of dollars into the Freemasons. And eventually like she figured out that like he had gotten kicked out of the Freemasons and he was actually dumping money into like gambling or something. I don't know. It was like a whole thing, but it's just so crazy how like
that's a crappy marriage.
We were talking. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they got divorced.
There's as many as I've only met a handful of them, and the conversation up until I knew they were and they knew I knew they were, and the jewelry is because once you notice it, it's almost like it's not the same as like an Italian person wearing his grandmother's chain or
a pinky ring.
Yeah, it's more like direct. Jewelry pieces have like these insignias on it. It's like very
like the Illuminati has the triangle that's on the dollar.
Yeah, or what we can assume to be
or the eye.
Because it's the enlightened one, right?
Right.
If you think about it, both of those groups both have like the triangle and the whole thing with National Treasure.
Yeah, because this thing that's like an official,
and then you
right or like this. What is it?
That as well.
Yeah, that's Illuminati. Yeah, but like Lady Gaga is like seen doing this all over the place.
Rihanna.
Yeah, celebrities.
Like, Rihanna.
She worships the devil. But I belong to no Illuminati or Freemasons. Just because I did that, I was talking about it. I wasn't.
Cannot deny or confirm.
I confirm. I am not part of a secret society.
Nah, we'd be living really good if you part of secret society.
Right?
You'd be living really good.
But like going,
bro, I have honestly, I've thought about it. I have thought about like Scientology and Freemasons, Illuminati. Like I've thought about wanting to like join one of these things because it just feels like the people like Tom Cruise, like people that do this, they get so far ahead. And I'm like, yo, if I gotta,
but see, there's gotta be.
There's so many that don't.
Well, not only just that, there's got to be a greater cost because what I believe, I always believe in equivalent exchange. There's got to be, you got to give to
you're
get
selling
something.
Your soul.
Well, if the soul is the body, into belief of depending on what you believe in, then what does my body have to do to commit?
You know what? That is something that we're going to talk about today. So let me get into these comments because we just like completely derailed.
No, go ahead.
So let's go into these comments. So the first comment that I want to read it's a quote from the video. And it says, so if you want to see how much a society is suffering, see what their views of heaven and hell are. The worse a society is doing, the better they have to make their heaven. And a reply to that is, I'm realizing that my understanding of heaven was taught to me from people who came out of World War II and the Great Depression. brutal. And that's an interesting thought, because if you think about like Islam, right? The idea of heaven to Islam is you get like 72 virgins, if I'm not mistaken. If you think about it, if what she's saying in the video is correct, then the idea of having 72 virgins to yourself if you died, that has to say a lot about how much suffering was going on in Muslim. I mean, obviously to this day, Muslims do not have it very good. Look at Gaza, it's horrific what's going on. But it's interesting to think about, if religions were written that way, what was going on at the time that made them write this like amazing heaven that people are willing to suicide bomb to get to this heaven. There has to always have been suffering and struggling in Muslim nations.
Well, you gotta think too, is that even going back to ancient times where like Egyptians, like there was a very like
The rain god.
no like, so with like pharaohs and stuff, like the pharaohs were at the top
That's
of
Egyptian.
that's what I said.
Okay, sorry.
So like you have like pharaohs and stuff, but like around that same area, like the actual like world area where they live,
In Egypt.
those are the areas that I'm pretty sure like developed into
You're saying geographic.
geographic. Thank you. I can't think of the word. But yeah, so those are the same areas that developed into what we know as current day Islam. And
I don't think so.
no,
I mean, maybe.
I'm pretty
The
sure it's
Egyptians?
like
I feel like Egyptians are.
Oh,
Maybe.
you mean
yeah,
current?
you might be right. You might be
current
right.
Egypt?
You might be right.
I'm-
I think you're right.
I know like
Egypt is close to like, it is in the Middle East. I want to, I don't know. I never think of Egypt as being Muslim, but I guess you're right. Yeah. I think
So-
of Egypt, I think of like Cleopatra and
Islam.
That's what I'm saying.
They
So-
are
Egypt
Islam,
is
yeah.
a
so
Muslim
exactly.
majority
So-
country where Islam is the state religion.
But like Cleopatra
followed
and
by
that kind of
Sunni
stuff.
Islam.
Cleopatra and that kind of stuff, that's not, you don't relate that to Iraq and
no,
They do have a multitude. They have
Right.
Judaism.
So that's what I'm saying. So like it's a very, not formality, it's a very like the structure of it all is still
Hierarchical.
hierarchical. Thank you. So it's
busting out the facts everywhere.
basically it's the same exact thing. It's just like, yeah, did the name of it change? But the original concepts of that area probably are like not the exact same, but like there's still a structure to it. So when you think about like, all right, so you get 72 virgins when you die as a Muslim. So also going back to religion is that when you die, so if you're at the very bottom of the social pyramid, what we would consider social,
Like a caste system
like
almost.
yeah, exactly, like a caste
so
system.
if you do something to try to help your life in the next life that you come back in, that's you're like kind of like not worshiping, but like giving yourself to that cause of trying to move up the hierarchical ladder. So like, and they definitely believe that like, all right, so if you were someone that was at the bottom of the pits making carrying
Making
stone,
the pyramids.
exactly. Well, we'll get into that whole thing at one point too.
Yeah,
but,
we will do an episode of the pyramids.
but in order for you to move on, and that's where it comes from. So
I think we're going to have to do a part 2 of this one, because I
Probably.
don't see us getting to more. Like, we're probably going to do one more topic and then have to stop, because this
And
is
then-
already insanely long.
and then you keep going, and like if you move up the next, and then you keep going, then in your next life you're going to move up and hopefully bring your family and keep moving up the social, I guess the social ladder. So that's where I think where the translation over time, that as people tell the stories of whatever religion they are like worshiping or whatever, they're going to come up with stuff like when you
So-
die you get 72 virgins, because that's going to better you in the next life.
So there is a comment here. It says, as a Muslim, I would argue that religion doesn't change. Human interpretation of religion changes. If that's the argument this video is making, I'm with it. So I think that that's kind of saying what you're saying, is that the religion is just kind of is what it is. But the way that we interpret it, the way that we internalize it, and the way we build our society around it is kind of the way.
To that point, what you're making right now, it would be no different than the natives having a weather app and not having a weather app, because they had a belief in Mother Nature.
Right.
So you had to do things on the you had to respect nature to receive things from nature,
Okay.
which were things that a gardener would naturally do, but it not necessarily might be respecting nature. It might just be doing the cause and effects that happen with nature,
Okay.
with nurturing the land.
Look at Disney's Brother Bear.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of
love
like
Brother
the same
Bear.
thing where like they had to speak to the spirits to find out what they were going to be in that life. Like when
Right.
they came of age.
Reincarnation theory.
And you kind of have the same thing with like the quinceañera. I think that's how you.
Quinceañera.
There you go. But yeah, that's kind of like that. So like every like culture has like that turning point, I believe, for like your culture, and that's kind of the same thing.
Okay, so another comment is in gangs of New York, the rich people are praying to the merciful God who blesses them with his loving grace, and the poor are praying to the vengeful God that guides their blade. It's a great scene. So I think that this is exactly what we're saying. It's the way that humans interpret it throughout time and where you stand. There's not, I mean, I'm sure that there is one universal thing. Like, okay, Christianity believes that homosexuality is wrong. I don't think that's ever changed. I don't think that's ever going to change. But then again, you got the Pope. The Pope came out and said that he didn't like think gay people were going to hell or something like that. He accepted them recently, like in the last few years, right?
You start to look at history in the Catholic Church history with things of homosexuality.
Right.
Then it becomes a wayward conversation because you have the pedophilia
right. Of little boys. It's always the little boys.
And then it turns out that you have the main target being the little boys.
Right.
Because now it's like who is a closeted homosexual and who's not? Who's a worshiper and who's not? Who's blood on whose hand and who's not? Who's going to tell and who's not?
Do you know that Satan was depicted as a dragon? And I find that super interesting because I think that a lot of the way that society is shaped has a lot to do with Catholicism. The Pope and the Vatican, they shape a lot of society. And if you think about it, the fact that Satan was depicted as a dragon may be why society nowadays believes that dragons isn't real, because the Vatican erased any proof that dragons existed because Satan was a dragon.
Like things change over time. And it's also, again, going back to what I've been saying about religion in general, is that as time changes and who's telling the story is the interpretation that the next group of followers are going to start to believe. So like if I
see what you mean.
I can believe in, let's say, God, and now I'm saying and putting my own twist on how I interpreted the Bible. And now I come out with my own book or Bible for a church, because everyone, like, there's people that rewrite it and then put it out for their
Born
church.
again Christians, yeah.
Well, yeah.
You know what's interesting? I'm sorry to cut you off, but I know I'm going to lose it. So I told you before, I read a lot of like YA dystopia books, and a lot of those are like Satan and falling from heaven and Nephilims and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. It just made me think of it because in those books, so many of those books, that 3-headed dog that's guarding hell is in that book. Are you sure that's not Christianity?
It's not. It's
not. Are you sure?
100%.
Because like every single one of those books has that 3-headed dog. Every 100%. Single one, and they're all based on the Nephilims and the falling Jesus and demons and blah, blah.
It's taking a part of it, and then remember I told you we were going to the example before the dogs crashed. We were talking. I was explaining an example of the depiction of what you believe a dragon looks like versus what the depiction, because there's no pictures in the Bible. The parts.
There's not?
No, there's no pictures in the
Really?
Bible. No.
I totally thought there was. Okay.
No, there's illustrations.
Yeah.
But the illustrations that are in the Bible are the map.
Okay.
So that it shows you the journey of Jesus' ministry. But for the most part, it's just like Jerusalem, that area where everything's depicted at. But it's just illustrations. There's no actual art depictions. In Catholic, they create from the doctrines art depictions. That's when you get all of the.
I thought there was like little scribblings in the Bible, but
no, there isn't. There's no. It's not like the Quran or anything. Like, there's no illustrations or paintings or anything like that in it. But from the scripture that I was explaining you about, the King James version uses the word dragon, and then when we get into the correlation of the Hebrew word and its translation into modern language, we learn it to be great serpent, which is another
serpent, like a snake.
Yeah, but a dragon is technically a snake.
Yeah,
it depends on what the imagery you add to it.
Right.
Because if you're thinking of a fire breathing
interpretation,
right? If you're thinking of a fire breathing snake, great dragon,
that sounds like Satan to me.
You depict it like that,
right?
But the only word depiction that we have,
so interesting, because dragons are portrayed as breathing fire.
Yeah,
that is, Satan has a hell which is engulfed in fire. That's so
remember. But remember I explained to you the depiction that other Christians use for their explanation of hell. Gehenna
is the fire pit.
It's the fire pit, which is Jesus referred to that. whatever you got to do to follow me, throw into Gehenna. Now, it wouldn't make sense if it's doctrine based, because why would he tell you to throw into hell? He was telling his apostles, he's using it as a example of how much effort it would take to follow my footsteps to be a Christian. That this is, if you got to get rid of your hand, get rid of your hand. If this holding you back, get rid of it. If your eyes holding, get rid of it. Whatever you have to sacrifice. He gave a hard example of what it took you have to sacrifice, get rid of it.
Adopt, don't shop.
Aren't you still shopping when you adopt though, low key?
Well, shopping is like
shopping is buying from
dog.
a breeder.
Yeah.
Wait, so you get it for free when you adopt?
You pay.
Well,
you
do technically get it for free when you adopt. But you pay for their shots, and I think you pay like a small nominal little fee.
How much is it?
So like
I got dogs for like $47. I think we paid like maybe $100 for Hulk and Zeus.
so yeah,
Discount.
I think it was like 70 each, but they also
but
have
there's also no like, if it's a purebred German Shepherd, you don't have papers. You can't prove it. So
and they're also usually like they're neutered because they don't want you to breed.
you can't get an unneutered
Like
dog.
we
if you
had
adopt.
to
So you can't breed them.
what was it?
I mean, that
S'mores?
makes sense, but also it's like, dang, man.
It's because they don't want you to breed, like, because a lot of people,
Because
especially
the whole point of
Let me
adopting
ask you
is
this.
to
Let me
declare.
ask you this. If you adopt a child, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you find out your kid can't have kids?
What's wrong with that?
No, I'm talking about a kid, like an actual kid.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I wouldn't not want the kid because he can't have kids.
but I know, but like, isn't it? I get the.
You're saying like if they like neutered kids going into the
yeah,
adoption,
like,
that would be fucked up.
right?
But the whole thing is that
Peter would have something to say about that.
the adoption process is the way it is because like there's kill shelters, there's so much overpopulation of dogs that we have nothing to do with. So that's why they neuter them, because they don't want you to go and say, okay, I'm going to go to a shelter and adopt a dog for $100 instead of going and spending $2,000 on a dog that I can breed.
Because you got like in Brooklyn, for instance, where we got our dogs at ACC.
Oh yeah, NYCACC.
And they make sure that they have to be neutered because a lot of people will go in there, adopt a dog, and then
sell the puppies for $2,000 a piece.
Sell the puppies for $2,000, and then that dog that they adopted, once it's done, they're gonna throw that dog to the street. Like they'll do one good litter, and then they'll throw that dog to the street, and then just use their dogs to interbreed.
It's like puppy mill.
Right, yeah.
Bro,
No, I get you.
So
it's so effed up, man.
Yeah.
But if it was actual kids, yeah, I wouldn't have an issue with that. Like, oh, if you adopt a kid, you're never going to be a grandparent. I would still adopt. I wouldn't mind
But
that.
you would have to give up that person's right to have kids. Then.
Yeah, absolutely. But dogs aren't people.
That's what, no, I'm saying that, but don't like
dogs are my dogs are my family. Like those were my kids before I had a kid. Like, and I still treat them like my kids. But at the end of the day, they still are property.
And the thing is that
well, yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
If a kid, let's say you adopt a kid and they grow up and they go and have kids, they're now taking care of their kids. If you adopt a dog and that dog has puppies, now you're taking care of your dog and those puppies.
100%.
I think
100%.
that's where like
100%.
the ethical...
No, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
No,
it's
totally.
I just always
fine.
thought that was
I love
interesting.
intriguing conversations like that.
Like, could you
never
imagine?
thought about that. Yeah.
Like,
that
I
would
want
be-
to. Oh yeah.
Oh well, poor kids. If a kid's in an orphanage, they're poor, and we don't want to. I'm sure
Imagine
there
making that
was some
choice.
like
Hey, you want a family, you
1930s Germany stuff
gotta
that
give-
was like that. I bet you there was. It's a doctor.
Oh, that does the surgery.
It was a Nazi doctor that he was doing like experiments on people in concentration camps. And he would like sterilize them, and he would like, if there was twins, he would like torture one of the twins and see if like the other twin would be hurt. Like, Mengele. Thank you, Joseph Mengele.
The angel of death.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he would just, I fell down a rabbit hole this week when we were talking about like slavery and stuff like that. I wanted to talk about it because I fell down the rabbit hole of how OBGYN techniques were. Have you heard of this?
Sounds very familiar.
Oh my God. Oh. Okay, so I guess it like messes with me because I did the fertility treatments and everything. I spent 10 years getting surgeries. I've had at least 5 surgeries in terms of like fertility. And
She didn't even want kids, bro.
but so the thing, and I actually haven't talked to you about this because I wanted to talk about it on this podcast. Okay, so
Interlog.
It comes up that back during slavery, there was this, I think there was like 3 or 5 women, but there was this one woman and she was a slave and she had a baby. And during the birth, there was like a lot of complications. She had like a prolapse and all these kinds of things. There was a doctor. Now I'm talking America. There was a doctor that came in and they brought her to this doctor, and he performed something like 80 surgeries on this girl. No anesthesia, no nothing, like no pain relief, no nothing, because he didn't view her as a human being. He just viewed her as like, oh, well, your pain doesn't matter.
They didn't use like the milk of the poppy and shit like that?
Nothing.
Damn.
Held her down, kicking and screaming, torture, did all of these horrific surgeries, wide awake on this girl. That man that did these surgeries, that tortured, I know there was at least 3. I don't know if it was 3 or 5, but it was at least 3, these girls. But there was this one, there was this one girl that went through like 80. That man that did those surgeries went on to become known as the father of OBGYN. To this day, we use those techniques that he developed while torturing these slaves.
I mean,
with no anesthesia.
I mean, is it horrific? Absolutely. But half of the stuff that we know today started because you had some mad, crazy person that was like, oh, I want to figure this out, because usually they had someone that died close to them and they were like, I can make this happen. And then
and that's the thing.
Mengele,
he went in and he did a lot of the stuff that Mengele did is still used today. Like a lot of the techniques that he developed, we still use today. But the problem is Mengele is remembered as a devil. He's remembered as like one of the most horrific people to ever exist. The doctor that did this to the slave was remembered, like he was lauded up until like 5 years ago. He was known as the father of OBGYN. Every fertility clinic knew his name. He's worshipped for torturing these poor girls. Like, oh my God. I guess, again, I think it hit me extra because I did fertility treatments. I had these surgeries. I know how painful and horrific this kind of, and to be 100% honest, I think like 100 years from now, they're going to look back at our time period and talk about how it was like widely practiced torture on girls, inserting IUDs with no anesthesia, all that kind of stuff. Like they're going to say, oh my God, I can't believe every girl that was alive at this time underwent this torture, because somebody along the way is going to care about women's pain. That's going to happen. But I don't know. I thought it was so wild that this man, like up until recent, like, I mean, it's kind of like George Washington, I guess. But this one, like,
Abraham Lincoln. Find out why you freed the slaves. Did you free the slaves for a reason? Oh,
right.
Man.
But this man, like, a prolapse is literally when your insides leave your body, like your vaginal canal or whatever leaves your body. It's outside, and he put it back in, no anesthesia. Like this girl was brutalized, and he went on to get awards, and up until 2020, let's say, was worshipped as like the greatest guy that ever lived.
Meanwhile,
for brutalizing these girls.
Because science is a lot like developing technology. You have the innovators in the beginning, and that's like, look at it like TVs. Like when they came out 3D TVs, you couldn't touch them things for like anything that anybody could afford. Then as the demand got a little bit higher, you start developing better technology, it starts coming down. So you have to have an innovator to start the process, and then you can make it better. And so like that's why he's considered.
But nobody
probably the
went
father.
out and tortured people to get those original 3D.
Was it knowledge
TVs.
that it was tortured back then, or did it come later in light by finding medical journals of his findings?
No, it was knowledge. Like he was alive and received awards for the techniques that he developed by torturing these girls.
So they knew he tortured them to figure it out.
Yes, nobody cared.
For the greater of the
advancement of science.
For not
but
the people
nobody,
that even experienced the pain.
Right. Nobody looks at Mengele as like a god because he came up with techniques that we use today, but this guy was
psychological horror, essentially.
I cannot. And this girl lived. She lived another like 20, 30 years. So like for like 20, oh my God, talk about birth trauma.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
wild.
it's so horrific to think about.
It's like basically if you think of it, and I guess it goes into a rabbit hole, but it makes sense if you think about it. Imagine you being a victim on some Epstein Island, and you seeing the people that did it, and you see, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, imagine going in, you got something happen to you while you were younger, and it's your teacher.
Look at Diddy and and Justin Bieber.
And then you watch the man that was standing on that island become president of the United States of America. That is some shit.
Yeah.
So I feel like the way they kind of like, I feel like with Epstein, was there a lot of crazy shit that happened? Absolutely. Was it horrific? Absolutely. But I feel like Epstein was the white version of P. Diddy because
Agreed.
a lot of
he
people,
was,
you
he
could
did was
pretty
Black
much,
Boule.
you can
But
literally pretty much.
No. Diddy did horrible things, but not to kids. He never really was accused of that.
No,
it was
Well,
all
no,
adults.
he didn't
horrible
fuck Justin
things.
Bieber in the butt.
Yeah, true.
Well,
He didn't beat the
did-
shit out of Cassie.
Cassie was a
he
grown adult.
Okay,
we definitely
look-
could say he did it to Usher.
Look at why is
Usher was a kid
Aaliyah?
too. Yeah.
yeah, Usher
Aaliyah?
got violent.
Aaliyah, yeah.
The one that went
She was
down
a
the plane
kid.
crash?
Yeah.
She was a kid. So you can't say he didn't touch kids.
Yeah.
You can, and it's just not
But
come
it's
to light.
different though. It's different. Epstein went out and recruited kids for this stuff where Diddy.
What do you think Disney does?
I mean,
Let's talk about it.
That's a whole
Let's
episode.
talk about
We're
it.
going to talk about Disney. That is going to be an episode.
what I
but-
mean that in part of both you saying on the Epstein thing, that's what I think because I mean, with all the information coming out from what I've seen come out and people that actually
what they want us to know.
right or people that are I would guess so informed on it because they've been keeping up with it, and before it was even like I guess modern, like people knew about Epstein in itself because he was basically a celebrity for a very long time and no one knew what he did, but he was just
like a
with celebrity.
Kardashian.
Yeah, no one knew what he did.
He was like a socialite.
Exactly. No one knew where his money come. And then the people that actually came in contact with him, that it's just really good podcast that a person that had actually had a conversation with Epstein, who he was trying to recruit or intimidate. And he had, it's so insidious. Like how he has the conversation with the guy and how he first meets him and he's talking about, he's trying to figure out what this guy does and why does he want to meet him? Because he would invite all these influential people to the island and talk to them and meet them. But you can't determine who said yes, who said no, because only the flight paths will tell you who's reoccurring guests. And
which is the way that it was with Diddy, though. Because with Diddy, it was the same thing. Every single celebrity went and
After party
participated
versus
in these
not.
like
Odell Beckham
rituals
Jr.
and
Every single person wanted to go to a Diddy party. Like if you think about the Bad Boys
but
for
there's
Life
a difference
video,
between Diddy parties before midnight and after midnight. Who was it that said that? That was like talking. The bald guy that sings in White Chicks. I think he was talking. Or no, Dave Chappelle.
Dave
Who was the
no.
one that was like,
Everyone
do you know
commented
what
about
it's
it.
like when I went to find out that your friends think you're ugly? Who was
Cat
that guy?
Williams talked about it for a very long
I think
time.
it was Dave Chappelle. He
Dave
was like,
Chappelle
you can find
it
out
was
that
Chappelle.
your
It was
friends
Chappelle.
think that you're ugly because like everyone was like, oh, you were friends with Diddy, and I'm like, but I was never invited to anything like that. Like I can't say I wouldn't.
Yeah, he's making a joke about it. But yeah, the Cat Williams made the joke about that very long. Actually, there was a whole thing about, because they had been kind of exposing Diddy for the longest time about certain things about his parties. But there are people that participate after it, and then there was people that were just at the beginning.
and then you got the people that had not wanted to participate that were forced to.
Yeah, because
But I don't know. I personally, I look at Epstein as a much bigger deal than Diddy.
Epstein is a part of the whole thing that's going on right now.
I feel like Epstein is a lot more child trafficking, and Diddy is a lot more.
Well, when you find out,
they're both on the same exact.
When you find out
level.
who he works for, that's
they're
the
both
crazy
on the
part.
They're both on the same level because guess what? The trafficking was underneath all of Los Angeles.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But
how do you know that that's not? How do you know they're not related? Most likely,
They're probably
Diddy and
related.
Epstein
Well,
were doing shit together.
You could have two. You could have two evils that separate, because Diddy was a part of the Black Boule, which is the whole Illuminati, separate from the Epstein stuff. Because the Epstein stuff goes into kind of what's happening now with the wars and who was controlling Epstein. Because Epstein in itself is not a real person. He was a figurehead for figureheads.
Right. And I always thought that about Diddy. I'm like, okay, he did all these crazy things. He did these rituals, but he didn't start that. Like, where did it come from? Because there's like
the predecessor. What's his name?
Michael Douglas.
No, it's the one that owns the label that recruited Diddy. I forgot his name.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
He's gay
I know who
too.
Start to see.
He came out as gay in recent years, and he like once you see him, it's the weird
Interscope
part.
Records, right?
Yeah, that's
The guy that messed up. What's her name?
No.
Whitney
Kesha?
Houston.
No, Kesha.
No, it's Whitney Houston.
No, Kesha.
Kesha came. She was on such a lock for a while too. Like that.
I don't know about Whitney Houston, but I
When
know
she
that like
died.
Kesha.
Kesha's alive, but
No,
she's-
he's talking about Whitney Houston.
Oh.
Whitney
Yeah.
Houston died.
Princess
I did
Diana
not
tried
know
speaking
that.
about it too. That's why
Yeah,
she
Whitney
was off.
Houston. Remember when there was a whole thing because it happened during the awards?
No idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't.
Y'all don't remember when Whitney Houston died?
No, I didn't even know Whitney Houston was dead.
Oh, so there's a missing correlation that you guys are missing.
Yeah.
Out of the whole thing. That whole thing with the Whitney Houston and the Diddy, Ray J being the last one to see her alive. They're celebrating her and she's literally dying upstairs.
Never
What?
heard any
Yeah,
of
you
this.
have-
This
I'm
is crazy.
Oh, I'll go down that rabbit hole.
That rabbit hole, that explains the whole correlation between the record label, the Black Boule, Diddy, the controlling, everything.
I definitely am
so-
going to look. So I did an episode.
Why she was still performing at her old age.
So I did an episode on
Like
Tupac
Cher.
and Biggie.
Yeah.
And I got a lot into Diddy in that episode because obviously Diddy went out on his own for
Yep.
Biggie.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, she's
How
been
did
there
I
for
not
a
know she
long
died?
time.
Apparently she died drowning due to I don't know how to say
What
it.
the hell?
Quotation marks.
Atherosclerotic heart disease and cocaine use.
Now,
And she was found submerged in a bathtub with water.
Ooh, interesting. That's how Chandler died.
you gotta, every MJ,
Submerged in a bathtub. Oh my God.
if you notice, there's certain significant figureheads.
Chandler.
That MJ.
How did I know MJ overdosed? I thought. I
See,
thought the doctor overdosed MJ. How'd he die?
See, that was an assassination.
Yeah. No,
That was he had,
fully believe. Fully believe.
But you know, what's funny part was not even funny. The crazy part is the very same person that was MJ's bodyguard. That's never. It was a new bodyguard. Guess who he works for?
The
Diddy.
Interscope guy? Oh, Diddy.
Yeah, there's a lineage which explains it. Diddy goes into MJ, Whitney Houston, and it also goes to
Following that conspiracy theory, it's interesting because as I just said, I did a Diddy, I did a Biggie episode, and in the Biggie episode, I was talking about how he had a kid that like hung around. He was like part of Bad Boys.
Clive Davis.
I told you it was a C.
That man.
Clive Davis is the devil. Yeah.
Say that man's name quiet and
Yeah.
might pop up.
So the thing that I'm like is blinging in my head about that is that if this whole conspiracy thing is true, I find it interesting that Lil Cease was a teenager when Biggie started hanging out with him. And he was a part of Bad Boys. And when Biggie went to go meet Michael Jackson, he told Lil Cease that he wasn't allowed to come with him because Michael Jackson had like this bad reputation for assaulting minors. So it's interesting that you say that Diddy is involved in something like with Michael Jackson, where Biggie was probably the closest person on the planet to Diddy. Why would Biggie not be aware of that?
So that's the funny part.
Or
is
was
that
it just didn't say shit because?
But then why would he not?
This
Why would he not bring Lil Cease around?
this is the
Lil Cease was a flipper.
well, this is the crazy part. A part of that conspiracy theory, which we learned to be somewhat of a fact, only because they investigated Michael. Obviously, you know about the investigation with Michael Jackson and how they severely investigated him. They were trying to get him on anything they could find on pedophilia because they were trying to get MJ on anything they could, and they couldn't get him in court on it. I forgot exactly what they got him on, but it wasn't anything pedophile related. He was pretty much exonerated for anything because they couldn't find anything. But the people that wanted him down the most were those Clive Davis and, being the Clive's
He did
second hand.
No, he was found guilty of something in court.
Yeah, but it wasn't pedophilia.
No, it was.
No, it wasn't. You could
In like 93. It was like early on. He went to
telling
court for it.
I'm telling the thing. I forgot exactly It was something. I forgot exactly what it was that they were able to maneuver a way where
It was the sleeping in the bed.
No, I forgot that. I have to look it up. It's the way the court had a certain filing.
Okay.
And the way he had to appear in court. Something was going on at the same time as his court hearings.
Okay.
They were able to exonerate him for certain things.
Okay.
But the amount of time that it would have taken versus... Because you have to prove in a court of law that by
Well,
fact,
no, so there's... No, you don't. You don't. That's only criminal.
He was never found guilty.
But was he found liable?
He settled in a
Yes.
civil lawsuit
There
in
it is.
1994 related to earlier allegations, but this was not an admission of guilt. In 2005, Jackson was acquitted of all charges in the
Right.
People v. Jackson trial. 93 to 94 case, Jackson settled a civil lawsuit out of court in January
Okay.
1994.
So he was never found liable or guilty. Okay. Good.
Yes. That's what.
I think he did that to get to try to
Because
just put
he
a
wanted,
fucking
he
end
wanted to keep it down low.
But there was something. There's a reason why, because he would have been able to even get past that point, the settlement. But there was I forgot how something happened. It was like they basically was. It was like you couldn't. It was like trying to get both of your fingers. I can't explain it.
Hold on. Macaulay Culkin. That's where the 93 trial had. I think it was Macaulay Culkin because
Because they were trying to say that he was almost coaxed. Like they didn't want to believe him, that he was saying, "Look, nothing happened. Yeah, nothing happened to me." He's like,
Right.
These other two people.
Oh, I know. I definitely did reading up on that where there was a family that were like, no, he did nothing.
Yep.
And then like, it was like, well, you could make $1 billion. Oh, yeah. You know what? I do remember sleeping in that bed. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Macaulay Culkin's parents put Macaulay Culkin up to it, and that's why he had turned into a crackhead.
But Macaulay Culkin to this day, if you talk to him, says, I was never touched by Michael Jackson.
But back then, in like the 90s, he was.
But why? Macaulay Culkin was like,
no.
I don't think it was.
the other
You're
kid.
thinking
It was the
of
other
the
kid.
other kid because Macaulay Culkin always had money.
Yeah,
His family wouldn't have done that.
He
It was
didn't.
the other kid.
It was the other kid. It was
Yeah.
I know you're talking. It's the one who because they did it in Oprah's documentary that they try to slander him with again.
I don't believe a word that comes out of Oprah's mouth.
Yeah, they try to slander. Can you imagine you make another doc about MJ and then you don't even give any of the facts? You try to slander him again with the same people that admitted they lied and then come back around. Well, I don't think I really was telling the truth at the time. I just feel like I was I actually got touched and
Right.
all this stuff and none of it.
But it's just weird that Biggie would perpetuate that. Like,
Well, Biggie got touched himself. Well, Biggie was This is another conspiracy between Diddy and Biggie and the lyrics
I
he
call
was saying
bullshit.
and the things he was saying.
No.
I'm telling
Diddy
you.
didn't even find Biggie until he was like 20.
No, I'm not saying he was touched while he was a kid. I'm saying there was a lot of pseudo sexuality at the time that layers things that the relationship that P. Diddy had was because P. Diddy didn't just start now, 30 years ago or 20 odd years ago with Justin Bieber.
No, he was literally groomed to take over the position because
Clyde Davis.
somebody, I don't know who it was, but like, I don't even know if it was Clyde Davis.
It was Shine, Clyde Davis, because you had even Shine.
Man. Oof.
Shine was set up.
That's
almost everybody under that umbrella was set up, except for Diddy, who happens to be Clive Davis's runner. Because once you get in Clive's business, you get in Disney. I'm telling you, Diddy didn't die for no. I mean, not Diddy.
Shine. Michael Jackson.
The Biggie didn't die for no reason. People weren't. It wasn't just a random court. It became of you better dead. I'm making money off you dead rather than you were alive because he was about to leave.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why they was about to leave. That whole situation
Because he had
Wade Robinson changed his position in 2005.
So Biggie had the reason that he was about to leave was because he had put out like massive amounts of platinum records, platinum songs, and he was broke. Like he never got to play with the kind of money that he actually made.
I'm not saying that he was molested or anything like that, but there was certain things that it looked to be by people that were around the situation that he looked to be a little bit too hands-on, that he was trying to cut away from whatever Diddy was trying to like get him wrapped up into.
I think it was a money thing. Honestly.
I think the way it don't seem like it, not the way Clive and them boys was running it. It was beyond money.
Clive had nothing to do with Diddy's album.
The way he was in hand on everything. That's where Diddy learned it from.
Of course. But Diddy left. When Diddy brought Biggie on, he wanted to market Biggie as this like hood black mafia guy. So like he had him in like fedoras, old like Al Capone, John Gotti type idea. And Clive Davis didn't like that. And Interscope didn't like that. They didn't think it would sell. So Diddy left Interscope and he started Bad Boy Records.
Yeah.
Clive Davis had no part in Bad Boys.
He was still...
So like he did have the first album that Biggie put out. So Ready to Die was marketed by Interscope, but Biggie did not belong to Interscope. Biggie belonged solely to Bad Boys.
No, I'm talking about under the tutelage of Clyde Davis. Everything that...
Yeah, but you can't call Biggie a victim of the situation.
I'm gonna send you where people that knew both parties spoke on Clive Davis's hand and Diddy's career, and how Diddy's hand and then Biggie's career was influenced, and where their relation. The same thing what Mace talks about, because Mace is there as well. Because you got 3, there's more people on Bad Boy.
Diddy obviously wasn't the first.
No,
like Epstein wasn't the first. It's just that I feel like they became the spearheads, if you want to call it. Like they're the front men, because you need someone that is taken under a wing. Just like you have, you could have a CEO that literally, not even such as Foreman, as there's always going to be the prodigy. They're always going to find the next person. It's something like that where it's a very inner group. You're always going to find the next person to take over, and then the next person in line. So if you take out the head, the next person is just going to move into that place. You think that's something that's been going on for thousands of years?
Yeah, like Hydra concept.
Like, let's be real. Pedophilia has been a thing since, like, look at Game of Thrones. Like, you got kings that are literally marrying 9-year-old girls once they get their period. Like, so it's us as a society has come and said pedophilia is not okay. Like you were saying, Diddy definitely wasn't the one to start that whole situation. Like, there's always someone that is the predecessor, and then you're gonna have predecessor. Predecessor. Same. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, predecessor. You're right.
But then you got the prodigy that's gonna take over when that person's gone. Like, there's always a third person down the line that, like, no matter. This is why you can't cut the head. You have to cut the head off the snake and then take out its followers. Like, it's just that's what it is.
I think that's what comes down to the argument, or more so theorizing, of the Epstein versus the Diddy, because you have someone that distinctly was a part of a whole nother country, whereas you have someone that Diddy was just, you have almost, if he's a part of the Illuminati or variations of Illuminati, if there's, say, the typical round table of group meetings of figureheads and people that are beyond the public sphere that control things, at what point does one of them go renegade and do whatever they want to do?
I think that the reason that I don't think that Diddy is as bad as Epstein is for the simple fact that I never heard even so much as a whisper, a rumor, that Epstein was set up. Something went on when Diddy first got arrested. The FBI had been following him for a while. They weren't doing anything. They were hearing rumors, blah, blah, blah. There was some deal with like a vodka company or something.
It's the alcohol
that initiated the whole thing with him. I never heard that kind of conspiracy about Epstein. I heard like Epstein didn't really kill himself, but not one time did I ever hear like, oh, Epstein was set up to take the fall for all this and all this stuff was fake. And I guess that's why, me personally, I don't view Diddy as like this like child's predator, because if they're like, I'm not saying if you don't go to court for something, it's not true. That's very far from the truth. But we do gotta acknowledge that the FBI brought charges against Diddy and never one time ever mentioned anything about anybody under the age of 18. You know, like there's stories, there's theories, there's, do we think that he did this to Justin Bieber? Do we think that he did this to Usher? Yes. Epstein, it's proven. This is fact. Cold, hard facts.
Do you want to know why?
Do you think it could be that Diddy was set up the same way that MJ was set up?
I don't think so. I think it's because Diddy made people happen. Yeah. If I'm Justin Bieber,
and you don't think Epstein did?
No, he didn't. He could have, but guess what? He's not in front of everybody. Like, Justin Bieber is someone that has been groomed by Diddy, and if he turns around, like, Diddy went to jail, so now you got Justin Bieber. He comes out and goes, "Yeah, this happened to me."
You know, he didn't.
No, I'm saying if he does, his career that he even has right now is done, because the next person in line is going to make sure that now they say, "Nah, that boy's crazy," just like Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Look at what's his face? Oh, Kanye West.
They have his conspiracy theory about Kanye West too, and it's his mom.
The not even that, just like Kanye West, they painted him as a crazy person. They took that man down. And like half of the things that he was saying during this so-called psychological break have been verified, you know? Like
his whole Jewish argument, the anti-Semitic thing, and then people will start to look into things like,
and now the whole world hates Israel because they're hurting Gaza. So it's like, how many things, how the other Jew, the the brother on the That's So Raven.
Mhm.
Same thing with him.
Oh, you mean
Orlando
Bloom?
Is it Orlando Bloom?
Should be Orlando Bloom. No,
Okay.
it's Orlando
You might be right.
Brown.
No.
I want to say Brown, yeah.
Orlando Brown.
Orlando Brown.
Orlando Brown. Yeah, Orlando Bloom is the actor or something.
Yeah.
He was in Pirates of the
So
Caribbean.
he's another one that everybody
Yeah.
they made us believe that these guys were crazy. They were having psychological breaks. They were going insane, so that you wouldn't believe what was coming out of their mouth.
Dave Chappelle did that.
If that exists, if that's true, is it possible that Diddy really didn't do any of the shit?
I think.
Let's look at Charlie Sheen.
I think
Did you say Charlie Sheen?
We talked about it one time. Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen. Why did Charlie Sheen have a psychological break?
I mean, he was. I don't even know.
He was doing a lot of cocaine.
Of course, yeah.
He did so much.
But
that
what was the public thing that he did that brought him down?
What did he do?
He was
Anti-Semitism.
I thought it was the fact that
Anti-Semitism.
He, had
He
like
did have some
18 ex-wives.
anti-Semitic. He did have
That little, like, he did like an hour-long live stream, and he started up with anti-Semitism, and that's what brought him down. And I'm just saying that if all of these instances are happening, you got Orlando Brown, oh, he's a crazy person. Kanye West, oh, he's a crazy person.
Cat Williams.
But they're all intersecting, and they all have the same kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Who's to say that that's what's actually going on? So, yes,
Because we've
do I
heard about the Diddy
acknowledge...
stuff for years?
I don't think Diddy didn't do anything.
No, he definitely did shit. He definitely did
I
a lot of
think-
shit. But do I think he's on Epstein's level?
I don't think that's. But see, with the Black Boule is hard because they be, bro. It's like it's like the concept of the Black Boule is basically what we were talking about with
Freemasons.
can Black people be racist against us as Black people? That's the whole concept. Is that I will worship the master by cursing the next slave just to be on the master's at the same table as the master. That's the whole.
It's the way that like the military right now is like carrying out unconstitutional acts. And like if there's people that are descending, they're just going to get kicked out, and then the next person that wants to rank up is stepping in their place.
Yeah. But doing it in the name of that very thing.
I find it difficult for me to look at Diddy on the same caliber as Epstein, just because I have that little thought in the back of my head that it's possible that he's going down the same road as Orlando Brown or MJ. You know, it's just the waters are too muddy. Do I think that Diddy is a horrible person? Yes. Do I think he is guilty of domestic violence against Cassie? Do I think he blew up Kid Cudi's car? Do I think...
Well, yeah, that's kind of at that point confirmed. Yeah.
Yeah. Do I think that he did some shit to Justin Bieber and Usher? Yes. Do I look at Diddy as having this like, you know, ritual? He's Satan. He had these rituals that everybody in Hollywood, like, do I think it's possible? Yes. Do I like look at it as cement as I do in my head as like Jeffrey Epstein? I don't, because I don't know. There's too much open.
I guess we could confirm what we do know is that tapes were taken on both ends, and majority of the tapes were a lethal amount of blackmail.
Mm-hmm.
That would be enough to control an individual. They're exposing it.
But who knows if that's... I think that there was a lot of homosexual activity.
I think on Diddy's
I don't know that it's kids.
Diddy's end, on Diddy's end, all we can confirm is definitely was homosexual.
Right.
On
There's
Epstein's
a lot
end,
of people that have come out and
it
said
was
like
definitely on some pedophilia.
Right. And that's the thing. Like I don't see anything wrong with like homosexual acts. Like so what? They had parties and dudes fuck dudes.
But it was beyond. You have people that were drugged. You got the Douce drug, which is a mixture of different drugs.
See, that doesn't make any sense because, okay, you're gonna let's say it's a politician, right? Diddy is going and he's trying to get blackmail against this politician.
Well, more so artists, but yeah.
Okay, artists. Let's say Ray J, right? You want to get blackmail against Ray J. Mm-hmm. So you get a video of him doing a dude, right? And that's blackmail because if it comes out that Ray J is gay, it would end his career, let's say, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think if he's unconscious in that video, it would mean anything? I don't. So I don't think that there's videos out there of these drugged, unconscious people.
From what we can tell, other than the sexual sexual interaction between Cassie, Diddy, and a third party.
Cassie as far as I know, Cassie never said that she was like drugged and incapacitated. She just like did coke and pills and shit.
Yeah, she was basically a glorified.
So she partied.
Nah, she wasn't just partying, because the text messages they were saying that she was saying to other girls, if they didn't, it was control.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
you didn't do this,
absolutely. But
I'm telling you,
I feel like I'm coming off as like I'm arguing that Diddy's not bad, and that's not it.
I'm
at
not
all.
saying he's not bad, but the level of blackmail, all we know is that
You can't blackmail someone with a video of them unconscious having things done to them. That's my point.
No, it wasn't.
You can as a celebrity.
No, you can't.
No, but it wasn't just.
If I'm a celebrity and somebody comes out with a video, oh, I'm blackmailing you with this video because I have a video of you doing XYZ and I'm unconscious. Yeah, I got raped. Like,
it wasn't just there were probably some unconscious videos, but majority of the videos that were coming out in audio was of you. Imagine you get a drug that makes you sexually stimulant to the point.
Ecstasy?
GHB?
But
no, GHB is unconscious.
I forgot. They call it Douce, but it was like
it's probably like ecstasy and Molly.
Nah,
There's
they
no
had
such thing
some
as like some
2CI, 2CT2
scientific.
Nah, they had it. They had it in the court filing. But what they were taking, the drug.
It's like ecstasy and Molly.
I gotta look it up. I'm so serious when I say this is a Hollywood drug. They were taking to be hard for hours.
Okay.
When I'm saying
so Molly, ecstasy, and Viagra.
Nah, hold up. We gotta put the.
And again, I don't want this to come off as me arguing to say that Diddy's not a bad person.
No,
I fully believe that he's a bad person.
Advocate.
I just don't. I don't know that in my head I put him on Epstein's level. I mean, I could be proven wrong. But
it says, according to the courtroom testimony, Diddy was connected to a range of drugs, including ecstasy, ketamine, cocaine, GHB, prescription painkillers, and then they were mixing it with something
outside of GHB. Every single thing you just listed is a party drug.
Pink cocaine. This is the one. The 2C is a former producer alleged Diddy required. It was like a pink cocaine that had like this. I forgot what it was. It's not a horse tranquilizer, but it was like
ketamine. Ketamine's a horse tranquilizer.
So it was the ketamine. They had it mixed up so that you could literally for hours.
Ketasex.
But yeah, they had that drug that they were passing out at the party so people could have sex for a very, very long time.
But that's the thing I'm saying. Ketamine is like a party drug.
Yeah.
GHB is the only drug that you just listed that would put anybody unconscious. So,
but you could take GHB with enough cocaine and enough.
That's what they were.
Ecstasy.
You still know what you're doing.
GHB,
right, but
it
imagine recording someone. I'm not saying that people didn't know what they were doing. They did, but imagine you are undercover down low, and then you have people that don't want to be known to be in sex parties. It's not like the casual.
But yeah, no, but
you know what I'm saying. It's not the sex parties that the swingers go to.
So because
these are high level people,
right? But that's not predatory to me.
No, you're not wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong. You're right. In theory, that's what the argument was. It's like, yo, if you have a sex party with adults and they're all consenting, true. But if you stipulate it with an NDA on certain things, because then if
every celebrity in Hollywood has an NDA anytime, and
but
there's
NDA
stories about like
of
Justin Bieber, like a random girl comes back and has a one night stand, she's signing an NDA. There's NDAs.
No, you're right.
Rampant in Hollywood.
But the NDAs he was setting were almost in a state of. It's different than you can't say anything because you had to sign them to go to the after party. Everyone that had to go to the after party had to sign the NDA.
An NDA is nullified if the act becomes illegal. So
correct.
You could sign an NDA and then you go there and you have cocaine handed to you and that NDA no longer holds weight. So
correct,
it doesn't really matter.
That's how they were able to actually talk to people in the first
place. Where it
place.
became predatory is when he forced Cassie to have sex with other people in front of him. When forcing other people, saying you're going to suck.
That's again, predatory. He's horrible. I'm not saying he's a good person, but he's not child sex trafficking. He's not like Cassie, as horrific as what happened to her is. It's not like okay, Grey's Anatomy. We just watched the episode where that little girl was being trafficked. She went to meet up with a photographer and he kidnapped her and sex trafficked her for years. Mm-hmm. That's not what happened to Cassie.
No, of course not. She was a willing
do I
participant
think
for
it's
a good amount of
horrible?
it.
Yes. What Cassie went through is horrific, but it's not sex trafficking.
Yeah, to the
it's
point.
Not. I mean, I guess technically, if you're talking about sex trafficking as like you have to have sex with this, but it's more domestic violence than it is like the way that Epstein actually did.
It's because he predatorily groomed people to making them think that he was going to make them famous.
Right.
And that's exactly...
Not all of them, though.
He made Cassie famous, but not really.
Well, Cassie...
He promised her multiple albums and never gave it to her.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as Epstein.
It's not the same thing as Epstein. It's not even close to the same thing as Epstein.
I won't say it's exactly the same thing as Epstein, but I think there's a level of coercion of it, that there was a greater level of blackmail that was definitely there. Undeniable.
Yes.
And we also don't know the
domestic
full
abuse.
extent.
Yes.
We don't know what...
Kidnapping children and bringing them to an island so that they can perform sex acts
and
on
children,
future presidents? No.
And I'm pretty sure it was already... Like, there was... there was testimony saying that
like the Disney shit, that's Epstein.
Okay, and underneath the houses in L.A.
Epstein.
No, Diddy. Diddy had pathways to other people. You want to say it was Epstein?
Michael Keaton, Michael Douglas, those type of things. That's all. That's why I'm saying, like, I wonder if Epstein is like involved in that stuff, because Diddy had, I don't know. I feel like I'm fighting a lead because like there's no way I'm coming out good in this. I'm just saying it's a different category in my head. When I think
I agree.
When I think of children being kidnapped at the border, right? The United States came out and said that they lost like 500,000 kids in the last like 10 years, right? Mm-hmm. Those kids, I think about those kids getting kidnapped and brought to an island and forced to perform sexual acts. When I think of that, I think of Epstein. Mm-hmm. When I think of a woman getting beaten and just like treated horribly by her boyfriend and blackmail and stuff like that, I think of Diddy. You know what I'm saying? It's just two different levels. But I mean...
But again, how much more people were involved with the Diddy thing? Because right now, the Epstein files still weren't released. So we have no idea exactly who was there except for the pictures that were released. All of Hollywood pretty much participated in Diddy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah.
So all of Hollywood isn't going to admit to what we pretty much know happened in the tunnels.
Why did the people of Epstein? Because all of Hollywood was involved in Epstein.
Not all of it.
I think there's a lot
because those files were the only proof showing that they even went there, except for photographs. Like you have the picture of Trump.
But who's to say that there's not people that just went and partied on Epstein Island and then left?
Exactly.
I gotta send it to you. Is the guy that had the conversation with Epstein, and also people that are more informed on the topic talk about how it worked in terms of him contacting certain people. And it was always people of scientists. It was always very obscure people that had either a lot of information, like people that had information control. And it was never just random people. It wasn't just inviting random lawyers or stuff like that. It was like a lot of scientists, a lot of scientists, which goes on to experimentation, goes into the whole subject of cloning. This is
who that you're talking about?
Yeah, because Epstein.
Okay.
What things were going on the island, because in the files, you kind of get more information on what actually was going on, because we only have, other than the pedophilia and the trafficking, there's no other distinct information other than what we have, the informants and people that were either there or that didn't decide to he talked to them and they were just like, no, I'm good. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like those conversations, I think we all should like watch those videos of the conversations of people that actually met Epstein. And there's one particular I think we should definitely watch where I forgot what his field is, I forgot his profession, because at the beginning, a lot of public information about Epstein, where he got his money, was like hedge funds, just very lucid. Like it wasn't, you couldn't paint.
Elusive?
Yeah, it was very like, the money wasn't, you couldn't say the money came from here. It was like.
Right, elusive.
Yeah, it was like he was getting money from.
It's a higher power. Like it's.
Like the Illuminati.
Yeah, like if Dana is the figurehead, I say, Dana, I'm going to make sure counts are funded, but I need kids.
Right.
And I want you to make sure that politician A, politician B, politician tempt him. Talk to him. See what his guilty pleasure is. Because we need him. And then after that, you get invited to the island. You partake. You might see Bob over there. Damn, Bob's having a good time. Bob goes to a room.
It's not a big deal if I go to a room, right? I see what you're saying. I
And
don't know. As I said, I think that this is a lose-lose argument for me because it
we're
feels like
on-
I'm like diminishing
I'm
the
on-
horrible domestic violence
You're not.
and the things.
You're saying You're saying that this snakehead is definitely worse than the other.
Right.
But
No.
you're also focusing only on the Cassie situation.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Versus focusing the whole unraveling of what actually was going on.
That's what I'm saying. When
them.
I'm looking at the entire situation for each of them, they're both horrible. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and end this episode. This is a super long episode. We got super
long.
in-depth.
That's how we do it over here.
Thanks so much for joining us. I hope you guys join us next week again. We're probably going to go ahead with either this or a very similar topic next week. So make sure to join us then.
All right.
Bye.
Peace.